Hello.
Hello.
Hey, everybody.
How you doing?
Thanks for being here. Yeah, good to see you on the chat. Wagyu Scuzzer, Bjorn Assenhead, Pascal Aubrey, Gary Goldfinch, Gary Aylward, Andy Kay, AD Vision.
Loads of people here.
Silk Pants, welcome.
Yeah.
Nicholas Bryant, Stefan Last Man with Beard, Spaces and Noise. It's good to see you all.
And the rest of you who are shy in the chat, welcome as well.
The lurkers.
You're the lurkers, that's it, isn't
the
it?
The dirty lurkers.
I think we're coming out of the speakers.
Are we?
Maybe a little bit.
No, we shouldn't be.
Okay, we're all
I
good.
don't know what's going on. Yeah. Bear with me a second.
My ears are just echoing.
Hold the fort.
My ears are just echoing. I'm getting weird reverberance. I know why. It's because the fan's still on and my voice is probably bouncing through the fan. It's coming back at me.
I'll turn the fan off. The fan's off.
That's better.
Start boiling.
We're going to start boiling
Three,
for this show.
2, 1, we start boiling almost immediately. But coming up on tonight's show, we have some stuff for you. It's a big show, actually.
It's a big show, but it is our third birthday.
It's our third birthday.
So,
Happy birthday, darling.
Happy birthday. Well done.
Well done. Medals. Here we go. On tonight's show, we have some news.
Various news, lots of threads, lots of events, lots of things have been happening in the music world this month, and we just want to talk about some of it.
Yes. Minimum AI this month.
Well.
And then we have an interview with Brighton ambient electronic band Mazenta Z or Z, which is really interesting. We talk about graphic scores and improvising over the internet and lots of interesting stuff like that. And they've got an album out, and we want to share it all with you. So that's coming up.
Yes.
And after that, we have
Gigs. We've got gig. Other people have gigs. We want to share them all. Gig. We want to just give you a bit of a notice board of all the things that are going on that you could attend this beautiful summer and enjoy some music.
I was just thinking, you could. I mean, if I had bigger forearms, you're basically quite tall and thin.
Olive oil. Like doing the arms.
Yeah. And after the gigs news, we have a synth of the month coming up. So synth of the month is happening.
Yes.
There we go. And booster news.
Yes.
Oh yeah, we got some
Boostery
changes. We had a big conflab with a certain fellow who gave us some pointers and said, "You're doing it all wrong." He didn't really say that, but it was something like that. And and after that, finally, we've got
live performance from the vault. You may have noticed we've been uploading some videos of ourselves live to YouTube recently. We're going to show you one that hasn't gone up yet and isn't going up for weeks, so sort of an advance preview.
Yeah, we really like it, and it's a cover version, and it's going to really ruin everything for us monetary-wise. We don't care. We don't make any money anyway.
No, it's just nice to see you guys and share it with you.
It's really nice to see you guys. Thank you for joining us on the third birthday. BOOcast is officially a toddler, an annoying, snotty-nosed, screaming toddler.
Oh.
Can it walk? You tell us. Anyway, all that's coming up tonight on the BOOcast number 36, which starts right now. Fantastic. I've just realised my ears are far too loud. I'll just turn them down. I wondered that's better.
I'll let you adjust with the technicals there.
Thank you very much.
Start sharing some news.
Oh, crikey, yes.
I wanted to congratulate our friend Sweet Machine, who we supported last month in Brighton at the Brunswick as part of the Fringe. They got to support Gary Numan, the Gary Numan in Frome at the Cheese and Grain.
Not a Gary Numan.
Not any Gary Numan, but the Gary Numan.
It was pretty amazing stuff. Well done, everyone
and
involved.
There's a little review of it in Classic Pop magazine, so I thought I'd just share that with you. But it was a warm-up show for his Glastonbury performance, which, in case you haven't seen it, is brilliant. And
is that Gary's set list?
That's Gary's set list. That's thorough, isn't it? It's a good long
zoom in on this
chunk. Yeah, check it out. And there's the two encore bits there. Nice. I love a double encore.
Yeah, don't you?
But yeah, so he performed a Glastonbury. It's brilliant. Watch it if you get a chance. And we've watched a really lovely interview with him. He's been obviously wanting to play Glastonbury for years, but it's the first time he's had the chance to.
So it's our first chance to get struck by copyright tonight. We're going to play something from the BBC for you.
You didn't have to say.
Hello, YouTube. Yep.
Well, we're using it under fair use because what I wanted to share was interesting in this interview is he talks about the process of recording his latest album.
Okay, here we go.
You've got a brand new album, Gary. Tell us about the new record.
Oh, well, it's not new. It's a live thing.
Yes.
From, we did Wembley a few years ago.
Yeah.
It's taken this long to get it out, actually. So, yeah, that's coming out fairly soon. I'm working on a new one at the moment, which I hope to finish off early next year, probably. But yeah, most of this year is touring for me. So.
Yeah, and you're happy to be back in the studio because the back catalogue is so immense, and you're always kind of experimenting and, you know, finding and tweaking your sound. Would you say that has been the sort of key to success, is you kind of really trusting yourself?
It's that desire to try to do something you've not done before, you know, rather than living on nostalgia or something you wrote 45 years ago, you know, living on that forever. You're constantly trying to find new sounds, new ways of using sounds. You know, the new technologies come along all the time, sort of embracing that and seeing how that can help the music. But if I'm really honest, I actually find every album a little bit more stressful than the one before, because it's that much more difficult not to repeat yourself, not to go over the same ground. You worry that, you know, have you run out of ideas? And you know, because most of the time in the studio, you know, you'll have 2 or 3 weeks where progress is painfully slow, and you feel you've lost it, and then you'll have a really good day, and it's all worthwhile. You know, so it's mostly pretty torturous, really, for those occasional good moments. So it's not like it's fun. You're in there day in, day out, and it's all great. You know, it's pretty hard slogging, and it can be very demoralising, and you really got to work on your, you know, what little confidence you have. You got to just. It's very fragile.
Someone said those are the days that make you an artist, though. The days when nothing comes.
Yeah.
Those are the days that, you
just work, chipping away.
Chipping away.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to share this because it's been an interesting month. We talked to you last month. We had a bit of progress on some tracks, and this month it was one of those months where everything doesn't sound good anymore.
Oh, well, it's just me. I'm always a bit grumpy.
But, you know, I just was really heartened to see Gary talking about how it is mostly tortuous, and there are just these occasional moments where it's like, it's all working, and it's damn hard work, and people who do it around their day jobs, most of us, and life kind of have to be crazy. So I just respect.
Yeah. Well, we were talking to Maths the other day, and we were talking about the different ways we both approach making music, and there's all kinds of different ways. How do you approach it? I mean, there's the way that Maths was saying he approaches it is basically he sets up a system and then records it maybe 4 or 5 times, and he's live. He's capturing a moment, and he does very little to it afterwards. And that's interesting. That comes in with our interview with Mazenta Z later on, which you might find interesting. It's a completely different way. Whereas the way we approach it is most of the parts of a song are very quickly and spontaneously arrived at, but they will only come like weeks apart. So we'll return to something and go, it's this, bang, and then leave it for a while. And then it's sort of, it's not that we're literally working on something and tortuously breaking it apart and going on forever and ever and trying to fix it. It's just like when something grabs us, we throw it in. So it's almost like a quick process spread out over a long period of time.
We have a lot of percolation time is required.
Yeah, you've got to think about
time.
it, you know? It's like...
Let the sauces marinate.
Yeah, yes. Yeah.
But it is really hard when it's not working, and it is demoralizing. That's the main thing, because you think, God, why am I doing this to myself? Is this even...
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. But this, to get to the point, is like, to quote Roy Neary, because this means something. This is important.
You need some mashed potato in front of you right now. Yeah.
And it's what's important. So I want to segue from Gary Numan at Glastonbury. Did a great show. So did Pulp.
Oh, yeah.
No, don't show this yet. But Pulp were a surprise act. They were listed under the name of Patchwork, and then pulled out this amazing, blinding set. We started by watching Common People, and to me, it really stood up against his performance in 1995, 20 years earlier. Just such a great performer, and it's lovely. He's got one of the new songs is called Spike Island.
30 years earlier.
95 to 25.
95?
Oh God, you're right.
Yeah.
Even more amazing. And in this new song Spike Island, he's got these lyrics that I was born to perform. It's a calling. I exist to do this. Shouting and pointing. I can't do Jarvis.
Nice.
But I really like it.
Oh God!
He's shouting and pointing.
Can't do Java
It's
Silo.
great. It's really good. So, I mean, I'm already a Pulp fan.
I wonder
but
if Chris Morris will resurrect his blouse persona. It's the Jarvis Cocker thing.
I'm not
Anyway,
familiar.
yes.
You're going to have to show me
A
that.
Song of Love to Myra Hindley.
Oh.
I think if
I
people
remember.
I think he said, I think if people are shocked by the record, they should bin it and then should go out again and buy it again. But for the good, whatever
Yeah,
it says.
and bin it again.
Anyway, that's my Sheffield accent. It's not very good.
Another bit of news about Pulp is,
Mhm.
so the new album is great. We've only heard a few tracks from it, but they did an AI-generated music video. Unlike Stereolab, who did an AI-generated music video which caused quite a lot of fan outrage, who didn't think it aligned with their values as fans of the band. The Pulp
Did they?
one,
I didn't see that.
yeah, I haven't watched it either. I just heard about
Well,
it.
can we see it
Not right now.
later?
Yeah.
Okay.
But the Pulp one, you could cut to my screen, is very good because it's kind of taking it apart. They generate this video based on actual photos of the band. You can see them here looking very much like a K-pop band.
Yes, has everything
And
been?
as they dance, you can see,
Generated,
hands and fingers disappear and interlope. And a man turns into this as he falls in front of a bus in London. But he puts commentary all the way through the video. And I really like the overall message. Maybe we need to work on other ways of coming alive. And he calls out, these photos are incredible and it's human intelligence at its best. I thought this was a beautiful thing to do by Pulp, and it's a very affirming song. And then they kind of balance this with a video called Got to Have Love, which is all filmed at Wigan Casino of people dancing during like peak of Northern Soul. And it's so good.
It's great fun. It was really nice to see all of that. It was inspiring.
It was
actually.
inspiring,
Really
yeah. So, which leads me to a point about the creative process, humanity, and AI, which illustrator Christoph Numan articulated in the New York Times this week. He did a whole article about how AI is affecting him as an illustrator, and I love this. He says, communicating emotions from a person to a person through writing, composing, or painting is inefficient and inherently human. Automating the creation of art is like automating life, so you can make it to the finish line faster. And I love that. It's so true. It's like, this is what we're here for. We don't want to skip this. This is the good bit, no matter how hard it can be at times.
Happy birthday again.
Happy birthday. I feel good. It's good. And then lastly, I did come across one last note on AI.
Oh, yeah.
So there's an article from Emily White on Substack about how AI-generated music is starting to go viral on Spotify and things. Well, it's a misleading title. It's not going viral. It's just picking up thousands and thousands of streams as background music. And she makes the point that AI-generated music will be good enough for background listeners, but for the people who care about the experience of fandom, this Amazon basics of music isn't satisfying. And she predicts that the next great platform for music won't be a streaming service. It will be a home for music culture. And the rise of AI-generated music will spark a counterculture renaissance, which I've heard from many other people than Emily. And I think we're definitely getting a sense of this now, that people are reacting against it. We don't like the way that AI is kind of being forced on us in these automated systems, from call centers to customer support, everything. It's kind of just being forced in.
Who's the great Australian electronics vlogger YouTube guy?
EV blog.
EV blog.
Yeah.
He did a video recently. So he's looking at there are some channels which are just exclusively AI content, and he looked at one channel and had 1,500 subscribers, but it had something like, I think it was 15,000 videos. And he said, look at these, and they're all exactly the same. They all start with a typed question and then a background with some text, and it's uploading a video every sort of 20 minutes.
Wow, this is
it. It's just completely
it's the
filling
content
it up.
hose, isn't it? Like, it's content totally disconnected.
But of course,
from creation.
I mean, quality is important, and that's why you're here
that's
tonight.
That's why we're all
of course.
here.
That's why you're here.
Yes. And in fact, speaking of humans interacting with YouTube channels,
well, it's really nice. I got I just thought it'd be nice to spread this out to all of you. Obviously, you all know this, but another guy called Smith asked on one of the Synth of the Month videos, just about any books on being a total newbie at synthesizers or anything you can recommend. And I couldn't, off the top of my head, think of any particular books. Maybe you can, but yes. Oh, right. But then I just remembered Gordon Reed's series on Sound, which I'm sure you all know, but it's worth pointing it all out again. Are you going for it?
Yeah, I'm grabbing the link.
Cool. You probably all know it. Gordon Reed's Sound. There it is. And yeah, it's great. It's from the fundamentals, the basics, right up to, fairly in-depth, complex ideas of synthesis and how sound works. And
I think there are 63 articles in the series.
Yeah, it's big.
Total.
And it's free. And that's a pretty cool thing to have.
That is a deep, deep dive.
Yeah, so it's something worth sharing with anyone that's thinking of getting involved in the electronic world.
I really like when I first kind of got familiar with synthesizers, because I'd only kind of played around them without understanding them before, and you...
That's how all of us do it.
...explained it to me in a really good way. You explained what the envelope does, and then you gave me little tests. You're like, make a trumpet sound. How would you shape the envelope for this? And it was brilliant. I love it. So, if you guys know any other teachers that make it super accessible, like Chris...
And even after all that, she
Share
married me. So, I mean, I'm just one of those guys, aren't I? Anyway, but yeah, well, thanks. I mean, that's great. So, are we there?
Yeah.
So we've got a lot to get through tonight. So we've got an interview with Mazenta Z coming up now. You saw the BBC interviewers earlier. They're professionals. I'm not. So here comes. You can judge for yourself. But yeah, this is a little interview with Brighton band Mazenta Z. Here we go. No. That's better. Mazenta Z?
Or Z.
Or Z, okay. How did you first get together?
Originally, I knew Paul because I went to a gig that Paul went to, called The Scene, in an art gallery in Brighton. I don't know if that gallery is still there, but and then we discovered that we lived in Brighton. And then Paul did something called Brighton Ambience. So we'd done an EP together, and then Paul did this Brighton Ambience thing.
So what was Brighton Ambience?
Well,
Brighton Ambience, the idea was it was going to be an open improvisation, electronic, regular meetup for people who were interested in electronic music, had their own little portable setups. I think we started December or September of 2023.
Would have been, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was a kind of a response to lockdown. A lot of people sort of started thinking, I need to get out.
Yeah.
Well, it was certainly my interest in performing with electronic equipment has gestated through lockdown. My personal background is more improvised music, electroacoustic improvised music, but like everybody, all musicians I think found the same thing during lockdown. It's we're all at home, what are you going to do? Yeah. You had endless Zoom meetings. I found that all my musician friends were talking about the latest bit of electronic kit that they were looking at, and suddenly it was like, yes, we can all do this. So my experience was spending a lot of time in Zoom meetings, actually doing music with electronics.
Literally live over Zoom meetings?
Yeah.
How did that work out?
Not very well. Patchy, sometimes it's good, sometimes. Zoom, you're always presented with an IT issue with Zoom. Every time you try and use it.
Every so often somebody releases some kind of internet link up thing where people can improvise together at the same time.
Yeah.
And I'm never sure about how good they are.
It's always latency is the problem.
Yeah.
It's syncing everybody up and latency. Yeah. If syncing people doesn't matter, then it's okay. But if you have to sync people together, then it becomes a problem. So there's Zoom, but there's also other things like a thing called Jam Kazam, which I tried to use, but it was no good for me. There's a new thing called Mooz, which I don't know if you've seen. MOOZ. It's supposed to be for music teachers doing Zoom lessons. Remote lessons. Now, I've looked at it and I saw, it's very expensive in terms of subscription, so I haven't tried it, so I don't know whether it's any good or not.
Give us a free trial.
Yeah. But it's always latency that is the problem, especially if you're trying to sync people together.
If you're working in the more ambient field, so I would guess you would describe yourself as ambient / drone / what would you call yourself? Describe your music in one word.
I don't think we can really.
Well, it is ambient music. It's ambient electronic music. Without composition.
Yeah.
But with structure sometimes.
Yeah. So you two met together.
The
first time.
Well, we have a mutual friend, Phil Durrant, who's a composer and electronic musician and improviser who's based in London. And he was part of the scene grouping at that concert at Onca Gallery. And it turned out that you're school friends.
Yeah, we went to school together. So Phil invited me, and I always come to his gigs whenever he's playing down here, because it's sort of close enough to actually go, but not actually close enough to actually enjoy it, if you see what I mean. Because you go to a gig in London, by the time you've got to get back,
logistics,
logistics,
that's normally when things are just starting to happen.
Yeah,
sometimes you miss the last.
You miss the last set. You miss the last set. So I always come along and watch Phil whenever he's playing down here.
So Phil introduced you.
Yeah, more or less. Yeah.
And did you? How soon after that was it you started? And you've been an improvisational musician as well.
For a long time. Yeah. I started at university, and I was in a band called the Hector Brissett All Stars, which we were influenced by Sun Ra and Albert Ayler, and we used to gig around the Midlands, and we actually did a gig with Lol Coxell at one point, but then there again he gigs with everybody, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure it actually.
So you got you've already been working individually. Paul.
So
tell us about your.
Yeah. Okay. So I played guitar and actually Hammond organ in bands when I was younger, and then when I left England to live in Japan, where I was for some decades. I was playing in a band in Japan, which was great. It was sort of psychedelic rock band. But we came back to Britain about 15 years ago, and I was just busy, and I didn't really think to do music, except just playing the guitar on my own at home. But I've always played the same kind of music. And when I was at university, I had a very good friend who was the official biographer of John Cage. And he sadly passed away last year. Very, very sad thing. He was a composer in residence, he was a musician, and he got me really into this working with tape loops. So I used to, this was back in the 80s, I had a copycat, which is all you needed. And I put a funky switch on it, which turned off the erase head. You know what I'm talking about with a copycat, tape loop echo, which allowed infinite repeats to build up. And I was also playing it through a Leslie speaker and various very primitive effects. But we did. I did to date me. It was actually a miners' benefit in Durham. So it was. I was playing the keyboards then, mostly with my elbow, and there was a guitar. There was a guitarist who was very heavily into Robert Fripp, and there was this amazing guy who had 2 reel-to-reel tape recorders, and he'd record into one, and then send the tape into the other for playback, and then re-record it with a microphone. And this is probably, early 80s, so very early Frippertronics. And we played in front of, I think it was the, what was it called? Protect and Survive. Was it the government nuclear fallout film?
Yeah.
Was projected over us as we played upstairs in a pub in Durham, I think, or somewhere. I can't. But anyway, so I came back and I basically built up the pedals, mostly presents from the family, which I had very little choice in. Then I saw an advert for Brighton Ambience, and I hadn't realised that there was such a music. I didn't realise I was completely in the dark. I didn't know that it really existed and people played it. And I plucked up the courage to go along, and it seemed to work.
Well, how soon was it before you all realised that you needed to be together as a unit?
I think it was basically when just three of us went to one of the Brighton ambients, and it just worked.
Yeah. And did you play together there at first? How does that work? Is it like people get up and like an open mic?
No, it's literally a sort of formless one long jam. Everybody does whatever they want. There's no rules or direction from me. It's literally, the only rule is it's electronic and it's ambient in style. So,
So unlike the EMOM, it's not sections.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's not as organised as an EMOM.
Where does it happen?
Well, we've been using the upstairs room at the Caroline of Brunswick mostly. There's been occasional.
We did one at Brunswick, didn't we?
In Hove.
In Hove, when we had an offer of a free room for an afternoon.
But we ended up using here for a session when we couldn't get anywhere else. And I said, well, it's bedroom volume, and then we've got a friendly neighbour, and we've got the space. So I invited the guys here, and then there were three of us, and we found it worked.
Some of your music is actually quite soothing. I was listening on the way up here, and it made me. It's quite a hot day today, and it made me feel like I could actually make it up the hill because it's got that chilling, cool, like calming effect. So I can't imagine you getting many complaints from your neighbours.
It's low volume, so and the reason it's low volume is so that we can hear what's going on. I mean, the problem with a lot of bands is that a lot of the time you can't hear what the other person's doing, so it's essential for us to be able to hear what each of us are doing.
Of course. Well, I mean, you're totally improvised. It's like the old thing about learning to paint. To paint, you need to look. To improvise, you need to listen.
Exactly.
Rather than be playing your own thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if I could ask, can you put your finger on why improvisation is so important for you?
Well, partly it's the freedom to explore. Also, when you do it, you come across the unexpected. So there are moments when suddenly it sounds fantastic, and you're always searching for those moments, I think. And when it doesn't go well, then you're basically almost sort of not finding the right groove or the right ambience, and sometimes you have to work at it.
But in terms of the process of how you decide, that's a good bit, or is anyone in charge?
No, not really. No.
Have you ever disagreed about what constitutes the sweet spot of something?
Not yet.
Not yet.
No, not really.
Not really.
Amazing. So you record live, straight down, no overdubbing.
No, that's right.
And I'm assuming, like, once it's down, then what happens? Do you
I take it away to edit, and I sort of run it into innuendo, and then because basically we have separation, so each one of us is separate when we record, because this is a multi-track recorder. I can then do a little bit of editing, and basically what that tends to mean is that when you've got, say, two instruments on the same frequency levels, they tend to mask each other out.
Yeah.
So part of the mixing process is actually to make sure that everything can be heard. And that might mean, sort of panning one person to the left, another person to the right, maybe sort of doing a little bit of EQ to make sure that, the frequencies aren't clashing.
But nothing really, nothing creative happened, nothing that's actually going to change.
No. Well, I keep what's down intact.
Yeah.
What I find interesting though is that when I've mixed something, the two Pauls say, "I don't know what I played."
Yeah.
And I have to send them the stems. So and that is the way that the music is well integrated. Is because often when we listen back to it, did we play that?
I think that's really interesting about this project, though, the fact that it becomes, as a trio, the music becomes one thing. Mm-hmm. So everything kind of gels together really nicely in terms of our choices of material and process or technique, and it's kind of, for me, that's what's really interesting. Is generally we end up with a very well-rounded result, where there isn't any sort of, like, for example, if we had an acoustic piano one week, suddenly I think we'd get a very, very different result.
So I'm trying to imagine the situation. So you sit down together, you've just plugged everything in, you're about to start. Now, is there any trigger or impetus or does somebody say, right, chocolate ice cream, go?
No,
nothing happens.
No, but I mean, that's not to say that we don't think about the session beforehand and think about what we're going to bring to it.
And do you talk to each
other?
other?
Not really.
Not so much.
No, not so much. I mean, for example, I have quite a lot of stuff on my iPad that I could bring. I've got lots of stuff, and I sort of decide beforehand, well, that might work, and I'll bring that, and then we'll see what happens, So there's just a little bit of thought beforehand.
Right, so bringing little surprises to give to the
other two. And I'm sure the other two Pauls.
It's often introducing new tech. Somebody's got a new pedal. And that may be a trigger for a whole new sound. Well, it might be, because I've started using a new pedal. Typically Roger.
Well, I mean, that's because the iPad's got so many amazing stuff that is really cheap.
You've just released your first album. There it is. Tell me all about it.
It was recorded in one day.
Right.
Okay. It was in here. What was say the date on that?
January.
January. So we recorded it in one day. There were 2 other tracks that we did, but we sort of. So what would happen is I would take this, I would send guys a listening copy, and we all decided that these particular 3 were the best.
So was there an awful lot of material from that one day?
It's about half of it.
Half of it. Yeah.
So this is what I'm interested in: is the editing process. How do you decide?
Well, that's the point at which we make a point of communicating, because everybody, after every session, because we record every session, we'll go home. Whoever's recorded will send the stems, we'll listen, and over the next week or so, each one of us will decide which our favourite parts are, and then we'll talk about it together, either by text or at the next session.
Yeah.
And by slowly kind of making notes and getting an idea of what we all think are the most successful sections.
And there hasn't been any disagreements.
No, not so far. No.
The first track on the album, Purple Plume, sounds very much like, okay, so there's a moment where it changes key slightly and there's a drop down, and it feels so beautifully and well prepared and complete like this. It feels like the almost like a Spirit of Eden or Laughing Stock Talk era. This is the beginning of the track, and this is the beginning of the album. It's such an opening, welcoming thing. It boggles my mind
that wasn't sat down and you know, and you're going to drop from there to there at this moment, and then the track starts, and that didn't happen.
No, we just happened.
Do you believe in telepathy?
No, I believe in experience, really, because both of us, both me and Paul, have been improvising for a long time. Yeah. And you get experienced at it, you know. So it comes down to listening to what other people are doing.
Between what Roger said earlier about being able to hear each other, but it's not hearing, it's listening to.
Listening, yeah.
And I think that's a really big part. I mean, you know, and having a sense of where it might go, which seems to be a fairly shared sense. You're right, a lot of it dovetails, and there are nodes and transition points which seem to play off each other. But I think sometimes I sense a very, very minute change happening and try to respond to it.
Yeah.
You know, instead of continuing and fighting it, you know, and I hope the others are doing the same. You know, you hear perhaps some signal, or you sense a signal that there's going to be a change.
It really does sound like that. I mean, I didn't mean to be implying that you made it. You wrote that bit first and played it, didn't you? I wasn't trying to say that. What I'm saying is that actually seems like evidence of absolutely what you're saying. Like, you're completely in tune with each other. How long have you been playing, really, together?
Since beginning of Brighton, well, it's not 23.
A year and a half.
Yeah.
So you're finely tuned. You're like trembling reeds on the wind with each other.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I said. You know, that sort of one occasion at Brighton Ambience, there's only three of us, and it just worked. You know, so you know, if it works, you go with it. You know, it's
at any stage, you talked about basically improvising and listening to each other, and that's where the thing creates itself, and as long as you're paying attention, you can follow it where it's going. Yeah. Is there any situation where you think you may use another starting point, even not a musical starting point, perhaps even a visual starting point?
The actual original recordings, you often find there's about 2 or 3 minutes of nothing happening. So, you know, it's a bit like, you know, you're starting and you're just noodling a bit, not great it is happening. And then, you know, we would chop that out and the main bit would continue.
Do you want to talk about your score a little bit? Because that's a good example of an alternate
we haven't tried it yet,
method.
But it's the next
okay.
stage.
Yeah. Well, I had this played at the weekend by two very good musicians,
Adam Bushell
and Bella Emerson. So it's a graphic score.
So are you thinking of using this for yourself?
We're thinking of playing that at some point if you know, the guys want to do it. I mean, it's going to be part of a larger project, so there's going to be a series of graphic scores. How that works is that each player sort of has a start point, and then you navigate through the map to get to the end, to the north symbol there.
Yeah.
And they have to interpret each element as they go. I'm not instructing them what the elements in the map mean. They have to work that out, and by listening together, they do that.
Guided improvisation.
Yeah, it's guided improvisation. And the thing about graphic scores is that they would. Because the technology had changed, they're starting to use tapes. You know, people like Stockhausen starting to use tapes and sine wave generators and all that kind of stuff. Traditional notation can't cope with that. So effectively what you're doing is you're creating a whole new notation system for the music that you're trying to create. And
so there's a possibility that your journey might change, because if you just start using an injection of something at the beginning before you begin, do you think it will change the way you sound, or is it?
I've no idea. I don't know.
That's going to be the interesting thing, I think, because we've not attempted anything like this as a trio before, and depending how we find it, perhaps we won't do a lot of it in the future. I mean, it's not something that we've talked about, you know, changing our approach. I find it interesting as an exercise. Yeah, it's something that we haven't done before.
I don't think it'll take over.
So I saw you play live. I didn't notice coffees and chatting at the beginning because obviously there was a heightened performance situation going on. So coffee and chatting is not appropriate.
Well, I think we just look at each other. Everybody all right? Can we hear each other? Let's go.
And
there you go.
Somebody starts, somebody does something. That's all that happens.
Well, that's when it becomes like any other band, doesn't it? You have a sound check prior to the audience turning up, and you make sure everything's the way it should be. And when you're ready to start, it's go.
It's possible the score could change the way you play live. Is it? Because I'm guessing you don't recreate songs.
It could be. I mean, it depends on the kind of live opportunities that we're likely to get. Yeah. So, say for example, somebody asks us to do something with a dancer or something like that, then the score might come in, might come into it, or maybe somebody wants us to do something in a gallery or something like that. Then, we might do a score, but it's it's just another thing that we can do.
One of the things I wanted to ask you about, if it's okay, was to have a look at your what you're using. So if that's all right, thanks very much, and let me remind myself of you tell me the pronunciation again.
Well, I say Mazenta Z.
Mazenta Z. Mazenta Z. Sorry.
Yes.
Well, it can be Z or it's actually short for zebra or zebra.
Okay. And which is it for you, zebra or zebra?
Yes.
Okay. Are we Zeds over here?
I'm Zeds.
You're a Zed. What about you?
Oh, I'm Zed. Yeah, I'll go with Zed.
I had a feeling you'd both be Zeds. I don't know why. You're
ambiguous.
a Z.
I'm ambiguous. Depends on the day.
All right. Thanks for having me in your house. And thanks for letting me watch you play. So, Paul, if you could give us a little tour of what you've
guided tour.
Yeah.
These are my favourite devices.
I
mean, when I used to play guitar in bands when I was a teenager, I picked up a Roland Space Echo dirt cheap, but it was a 301 version, which has the capacity to make primitive loops.
Right.
It has the sound on sound function, which the Strymon El Capitan emulates really, really well. So I don't use them as delay pedals. I literally use them in all the time as in loop mode.
Sort of double looper there.
Yes.
What's the Chase Bliss mood?
The mood is a micro looper on one side and a delay stroke reverb stroke slip, they call it, which is another tape emulation kind of concept. Right. Where the idea is you're slowing a tape down or speeding it up in real time, so it's emulating that.
So we've got 3 sets of different flavours of tape.
Yes,
going on,
and then that's just reverb.
Yeah,
just a good quality reverb. Yeah, really nice.
Nice. And let's come up to here.
This is the main. Yeah, this is the main sound source.
The beautiful
Lyra 8 synthesizer. Again, it's got its own. It's got its own mood.
Is it? How long have you had it? I mean, have you developed a real relationship now?
I've had it a couple of years, and I acquired it secondhand from a friend of mine, who he found it a little bit too wayward and uncontrollable. And when he told me that, I thought that's the synth for me. Which is exactly why I love using it, because you don't really know what it's going to do. I mean, you can understand the controls to a certain point and read the manual.
And it's almost the ideal Mazenta Z synth, isn't it? With the kind of you're journeying with it.
Indeed. Well, it's kind of it's like the guy at the front with the map.
So Roger, can we have a look at what you've got in front of you?
Oh, okay.
Quite a lot of stuff here.
Okay. Well, there's the Arturia Keystep 37. What it does do that is brilliant is you can just basically change the MIDI just like that.
Yeah.
So the way that this works is that I can control everything from here just by changing MIDI channels. So I can go into the Pro 800, I can go into the sampler, and I can go into my stuff on my iPad. On the iPad, there is a Fender Rhodes, right? I also have this thing. Oops, dear. Yeah, I also have this multi-sampler, which basically does acoustic instruments. So I've got a marimba in there at the moment, but I can do violins or whatever, and the rest is basically the live stuff coming from the sampler and the Pro 800.
So you've got the Roland Ira Boutique. Which one's that? That's the
No, this is the P6.
P6, and you were telling me earlier that's a cut down version of
their larger one. I can't remember what that one larger one's called, but
the 404.
So this only has let's say about whatever 6 times 8 is. 6 8.
48.
It's only got 48 samples in it. But but if you're doing it live,
let's just take that sentence back to 1982.
It's and it's a very interesting thing. So.
Yeah. And as if by magic, we're outside. So if Paul, I'm going to call you Paul 1 and Paul 2. Sorry, that's really unfair because I knew you first. But if Paul's the map guy, would you call yourself the brains of the outfit?
No. No, I just put random stuff together. That's actually. Oh, come on. There we go. So,
and all of that's going into the H6. That's the recording.
That's all going into the H6.
And so you've got the Pro 800 over here. How are you getting on with this?
I love it. Absolutely fantastic. When sequential circuits made the Pro 800, it was supposedly a cheaper Prophet 5. It wasn't a success because they got the envelopes incorrect on it. And there's a guy called Giggly who did loads of mods to it, and they basically recreated it with all the Giggly mods. So the modulation is slightly different from Prophet 5, but you can actually get Prophet 5 sounds out of it, and it sounds absolutely wonderful.
I mean, it looks like roughly the same architecture as Prophet 5.
Yeah, so.
And there's the cross mod.
Yeah.
The classic sequential circuits cross mod thing going on there.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
So it's also got, so it's all analog inside, but it's all digitally controlled. So you've got,
which is like the original.
I mean, if you open this up and look on the inside, it doesn't look anything like the original. It's all been re-engineered. All of it's been re-engineered.
Not merely copied, but
not merely copied, but re-engineered. Yeah.
Amazing. So thank you, Paul. I mean, you're the axe-wielding gentleman in this unit.
My aim is to make it sound as little like a guitar as possible. I have a Hammond organ in the other room, but it's a lot harder to carry around.
Yes. Tell me about your pedal boards.
It's really very, very simple. There's nothing flash in here at all. They're very much off-the-shelf pedals. A fuzz, and I'm a little bit inspired by Igor Fresa's guitar playing, Tangerine Dream, early 70s.
So where did we start? It comes from here.
It goes into a high impedance volume pedal, which is great for ambient music. The fuzz really needs to be first because it's a high impedance. It picks up the pedals into a touch wah. It's a Dunlop touch wah, so it hasn't got a click, hasn't got a switch. It just it's operated by foot pressure. Into the Beano Boost, it's just a treble overdrive, and the transistor he takes individually. These are from 1960s Japanese defunct electric organ, so it's a germanium transistor, but he chooses them individually. A little bit of compression, a little bit of overdrive, and a phaser, a flanger, delay. I like Mr. Black pedals. They're not well known in Britain, and it's a low latency octaver, but I often use it for the bottom end. It's quite good because we sometimes don't have much bass here, so I can add a bit of extra bass with the bottom end on that. The latency is not great, but it gives us a bit of a boom. I really like these. The Mr. Black Deluxe Plus. It's a tremolo and a reverb. I hadn't got a Strymon, but the reviews compare these quite well to Strymons. But it's a lovely, lovely, very drippy, wet reverb. And look at the pedal; it's got palm trees on it. I mean, what more could you ask? But the main tool I'm using a lot is this little gadget, which I'm sure everybody will know, which is an EBO. And in conjunction with the octaver, especially if I turn the top octave up, helps get over the fact it's monophonic. And then with a bit of an effect on it, works very well with the tremolo. Turn the volume down because it's so powerful, and then turn the tone down, and you get a bit of a flute. And with the volume up, you get a little bit more of a cello. Although that one sounds more like a flute, actually. There's the unpredictability of the...
Thank you, Paul. Thanks for letting us look.
Thank you, Mazenta Z, for letting me into your home, and it was great. And it's just really inspiring and interesting to see how all different people work, and really interesting to see about the graphic score potentially being used there. And
I think when bands really have to listen to each other like that to create their music, either they're incredibly lucky to have found each other to be on that same wavelength, or also, very, very good at listening and improvising. It's probably a combination of both.
yeah. But yeah, do go and check out the, where are we? Here we go. Check out their album. It's out there on Bandcamp right now. There it is. And I mean, I would say it's got very much the vibe of, Spirit of Eden, Laughing Stock. There's a lot of that sonic territory going on in there, and we've got a copy here.
We do. And Peter Coit mentioned the beautiful paintings on the wall. The album art is also by the same artist, which is Paul's wife, Hiroko Lewis, and there's her website there if you're interested in following her. She has an Instagram, and I believe they do artists open studios every year in Brighton. So
and
beautiful.
The link's in the chat.
I'll put the link in the chat.
We'll put the link in the chat. The link's going in the chat. So thank you very much for having me over there, and my terribly cack-handed attempt at being a BBC interviewer, asking all the most asinine questions.
Not at all. It's very interesting.
I would like to pretend to be stupid, you see, when I'm interviewing.
Oh, like
asking
Louis Theroux.
Asking stupid
questions. He plays
dumb,
doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. I mean, maybe I should go and work in a Nazi brothel, do an interview there. How do you think I'd get on?
I'm
just condensing two different Louis Theroux interviews there. But lots of chat in the meantime there.
Yes, I wanted to share, first of all, loads of gigs coming up.
Yes.
Yes, so we've got, first of all, tomorrow night at the Green Dragon in Bungay, Suffolk, Nicholas Bryant is playing in a 3-piece at their open mic. That's Tuesday the 8th for anyone in Suffolk.
Excellent.
And then we have Coastal Electronauts this Thursday at the Whitstable Umbrella Community Centre, run by Peter Coit, who's in the chat, and Technomatic will be playing there.
Simon's going along. Fantastic.
I'm not sure who else is playing, but Disco will be doing the live visuals. He's brilliant, and DJ Way Back Into Time plays some banging tracks. So if you're in that area, that's a good one to check out this Thursday. Then we've got Technical Difficulties at the Puzzle Hall Inn in Sowerby Bridge on Wednesday the 16th. I'm afraid I've forgotten who's playing, but someone else in the chat is playing at this. It's on the third Wednesday of every month, so that's another open mic night there. And then it's the Derby Emom's third birthday special. Happy birthday, Jim Glue and the Derby Emom.
More toddlers.
same as us, yeah. So that's on Thursday, the 17th of July, the next day. And then, of course, we are playing at the end of the month in Canterbury, in Wingham, near Canterbury, at the Crash of Moons Club, which is an all-day festival, and there's loads of bands playing. It's going to be great. I think Peter's mentioned he's coming in the chat. Gary Elwood will be there, so it's going to be lovely to see you guys. And we're very much looking forward to it. We've started rehearsing. As you can tell, the studio's a bit messy behind us because we've got
the lights are alive.
Live stuff.
The place is a tip at the moment.
Gets very sweaty in here when we're practicing. Yes. And so, yes, go check out those things. And in the meantime, we did have a lot of talking about live performance. AD Vision said, did you notice Gary Numan uses an Access Virus T1 at Glasgow? Yes, we did. And Technomatic pointed out correctly, he's been using them for years.
He's been using it for years and years. Yeah, he loves the thing.
Yeah.
And it's a great synth.
Does a good job.
Yeah.
He has to reproduce all those, good sounds from the past. And he does a good job with it. Peter Coit. Said Jarvis uses a wasp. I didn't know that. I've never noticed.
I didn't know that either.
Him using a wasp. I have to check that out.
I used a wasp at the Tate Modern once.
You did?
Yes, it was falling apart.
And a theremin.
I had to press its very soft plastic case together to hold the circuit board in one place. It was great. It was added to the excitement of the performance.
Electric. We had loads of suggestions for books for introductions to synthesis.
Yeah.
Before you cut to this, first of all, Thomas Yon said synthesizers for dummies is very interesting. Wagyu says he's got a funny book called My Daddy Has 100 Synths. It just sounds like it might be a good stocking stuffer this Christmas for lots of
Sounds like there was something you'd hear at a family case conference.
And Gary G says he used to borrow a library book by Dean Friedman, of all people, countless times. It was a great introduction. Not sure what it's called, though. And then Peter Quote said the electronic and experimental music by Thomas Holmes covers electronic music from the beginning to now, and it has an associated podcast of tracks from each era, which sounds cool. And then he said there's a very rare graphic score book called Notation 21 by Theresa Sauer. Ian J. Cole mentioned this as well.
Now, you just looked for it on Abe Books.
He said it's impossible to get hold of.
You found a copy?
Well, it's £1,100 on Abe Books. But if you're quick...
Oh, is it going to be...
We found it on Internet Archive. So if you want to join the Internet Archive library, which I have recently to look at loads of typographic books, you could have a browse through graphical scores of all kinds. It looks like such an amazing book. And for anybody who's new to the subject, it seems to go into everything. All the people who've used it, how it works, interviews.
Interesting.
Amazing. Notations 21 by Theresa Sauer. So I'll pop that into the chat. I wonder when that was uploaded. 2024. So
I mean,
let's see if that stays up.
Let's worry about the legality of that later. I've only had really one experience of using a graphic score, and I was doing the sound for my friend at art school, and I was mixing the show, and I had my graphic score in front of me. And I remember when it finished, he came up to me and said, "We had this." Not really a blazing row. We're having an argument in front of the entire audience. He's going, "Wait, you were at the green triangles. You should have been at the red oblongs." And I was like, "It was the green triangle bits." And was like,
"Oh no!"
I think we both realised, this is ridiculous. I don't think anyone noticed.
I wonder if I could tell the difference between a green triangle and a red oblong in music.
If you heard it, I'm sure you could.
I would, yeah.
Clearly, I couldn't.
Yeah,
so
that's a shame.
I was just the tech anyway. It doesn't matter. But yeah, no, that's fantastic. I'm going to check that book out later on. What's that AI?
So AD Vision said, "Have you heard about the Velvet Sundown?" And yes, they were linked to in the Emily White article that I mentioned. But yeah, cut to my screen. This is the AI-generated psych rock band, which is racking up hundreds of thousands of Spotify streams. Check out these serious guys. They know how to make music.
They look so real.
They're so smooth.
He's got the right number of fingers.
Anyway, they've got 411,000 listeners. I think they're just basically the same as the YouTube channel. You said they're just uploading tons and tons of things.
Yeah, interesting.
And people are listening because they're passively listening. They're not actively listening.
Yes, passivity.
Yes, so
that was lovely. So let's go to Synth of the Month. It's a big show tonight. I'm sorry, there's a lot of stuff throwing at you. But Synth of the Month. Here we go. Yes, let's do this. Here we go. Hello, thanks for stopping by. The BOOcast synth of the month is the Roland S-1. Do you remember your first love? In 1985, I first set eyes on the Roland SH-101 at school in an empty music room whilst avoiding double history. I wasn't moved at first, but little did I know some seeds were being planted by the grey plastic synth, which ultimately brought me to where I am today, forever yearning for something electrical in my ears. Roland have been releasing ACB emulations of their old classics for a while now. I even got the boutique 909 emulation, but I had to get rid of it because it was so small I feared one day I would either step on or swallow it. So here's the S1, Roland's ACB emulation of the SH-101, even smaller than the boutique 909, and once again, I risk a choking hazard with a microscopic synth. But will I make it to the end? And will I fall in love all over again? Yep, the Roland S1. It's pretty small. It's modelled on an SH-101. It's got a lot of controls on the front inside this tiny form factor. Oh, by the way, I should explain my nail. I had a bit of an incident with a chopping knife and my fingernail. And Bridget has supplied me with a fake nail, and I've painted it green to match the sides of the S1. So just to explain, in case it's distracting you. But anyway, even on the small amount of space we have here, we've got a lot of controls. Let's go to an initialized patch. I'm playing it from the key step, by the way, but you can play it from here. Hey, it's a 2-octave keyboard, which is impressive because it's so small. But yeah, on the front panel we have an LFO. So let's apply LFO to pitch, and let's just listen to one oscillator for this purpose. These are all tiny little knobs, but they're not too difficult to go for. So we've got a saw wave. Goes very slow. Also, if we go to shift, we can change the LFO condition to fast. Which is, that's a lot faster than the original SH-101 could go. Let's put it back to normal. There we go, on pitch. We've also got down saw. We have triangle, a square, it's bipolar. That makes it quite tricky. Well, that's not bad. And next we have random. And finally, noise. Put up the release. A lot more waveforms than we had on the SH-101 for the LFO. Let's turn that back off. So in the oscillator, we have the familiar collection. So we've got the square. We've got a saw. We got a sub, and we got noise. So there's a lot of control here without having to go through any pages of menus or change things. We've got quite a lot of control. But suppose we want to get access to the sub oscillator though. So we've got 1 octave down square there. Suppose we want the 2 octave down one. Well, so many of these knobs, in fact, I think all of these knobs and buttons and switches, if you press shift, all of this flashes, but a lot of these knobs do different things too. But here we've got a sub oscillator. We can select 1 octave down, 2 octaves down, 2 octaves down, narrow pulse. So that's all of the controls. that you get on the SH-101, just with one shift, well, a shift press and a press of that sub-octave button. Exit is your friend. What about if we want to have pulse width modulation of the square wave here? So press shift and just turn the little knob. And there's the speed. Let's slow it down. And you can't fail to have noticed, and you know already, this thing is polyphonic. 4 notes would be great if it was 6, wouldn't it? I mean, why would anyone buy the little boutique Juno? Anyway, got square, we got saw, we got sub, we've also got noise. Now on noise, let's press. That sounds like pink noise. We can change it to white. So you see what I mean? Although it's very compact, a lot of the controls are already there. The ones that are missing are generally, not all the time, but generally just under one shift button push, and you've got access to all this other stuff. And the filter. Get out of noise, get out of saw. So it's 255 steps in this filter. I'll just put a little sequence in. On the filter we have frequency cutoff. We have resonance. We have LFO, which is currently set to noise, so let's put it onto something. There we go. So now we've got the triangle waveform LFO, changing the filter, and now we can add the envelope. There's only one envelope. So that's a lot of fun. Just like in the SH-101, so there's only one envelope. We can do the kick drum fun. But you see, we're not tracking the keyboard, but we can track the keyboard. So we simply go to Shift and filter keyboard is here, button number 7. Do that, turn it up. So yeah, as you can hear, it's now tracking the keyboard. So now that's tracking the keyboard. We can also, if you really want to get that kick sound happening, we can modulate the filter with the single envelope. If you want to make kick drum noises though, it does die away because the amplifier is going through this single envelope as well. But just like on the original SH-101, you can press Shift, go to Amp. You get to choose what's controlling the amplifier, so we can do it through the envelope or through just a simple gate. So now it's basically the amplifier is going through a simple note on, note off envelope. And we'll exit there. And that makes it possible to make these really chunky Kraftwerky style snappy sounds like that. Put a bit of noise in. Yeah, okay, and yeah, so the filter sounds good. Lots of other people have compared it directly with the SH-101 and found it actually comes through rather well. This is the Roland ACB, Analog Circuit Behaviour Modelling, which many people feel is a little bit more fun than the Zen Core. I have no real opinion about the Zen Core, apart from I did play the Juno X at the opening of the Roland shop, and I did mention how much it felt like someone had reanimated a much beloved and deceased pet. It looked like your old darling, and it sort of sounded a bit like your old darling, but when you look it in the eyes, there's something wrong. That's how I felt about the Zen Core engine. It just, I don't know, it's a lot of people love it. Okay, I'm not going to try and I don't want to have another fight with you all on the bloody internet. But that's my personal opinion. All right. Okay, good. That's that sorted then. But I think that's basically it. You see, there's a very simple synth. We've got one oscillator, one sub-oscillator. We've got a bit of control, and it does the classic sort of thing. So I'll just go into... So the way you select sounds is you press pattern, and you press and hold. You get 4 banks of 16, so we'll choose bank 4. Once you release the pattern button, you can select a sound, so we'll select this one. And to my ears, it sounds really delightful. We've got effects as well. So it's, again, simple controls on the front panel. We have a reverb and a delay. Let's turn up the level of the reverb. So this is just one knob. So I've got it set on an incredibly long reverb. Might turn it down a little bit. Anyway, kind of an organy sound. That reverb's quite long, isn't it? How do we make it shorter? Well, on the S1, considering it's so small, there are usually 2 ways of doing everything, and there's a very quick and simple way of shortening your reverb. You press Shift, and you just turn this knob, and it turns the time down. There we go. If you want more control over the reverb, we could press Shift and hit the reverb button down here. And here we have reverb type. So we'll press Enter. So back to the beginning. What it calls ambience. A room. A hall. Another hall. A plate. A spring. Modulated reverb. There we go. Let's go back to this spring. Exit there. So that's the types. We can then choose the time here, but obviously there's a quicker way. Shift and just turn the reverb knob. Level, again, that's just the reverb knob on its own. Pre-delay, so we can enter into here. And then low cut. So you can go from flat, and then you can choose the frequency at which you cut the reverb off. Gone quite high there. And then there's high cut. Made that flat. So that gradually darkens the reverb. And then density. So let's enter into here. What does this do? So let's listen. Yes, you can hear it's broken it up into its individual reflections. So it's nice. You can turn it up a bit. You can get a gritty little reverb out of it. Or go all the way up to there. And let's exit here. And I'll just turn up the length. So there's quite a nice reverb. And it's stereo. There's also a delay. Let's turn the reverb off. Wow, that's really short. Let's make it longer. Again, Shift and delay changes the time. And it's tempo synced in this case. Yeah, again, we can go into the delay and we can change various things. So delay sync, turn it off, enter. So I'll just leave a sequence going. And when you connect external sequencing things to it, it picks up the tempo of the incoming sequence and applies it to the delay. Let's just go back here. Oh, exit. Where are we? Goes really short as well. Incredibly short, actually. Almost flange territory. In fact, definitely flange territory. So the effects are really good and the oscillator's really good, but it's a simple synth, isn't it? Not a great deal more to say about it apart from these buttons here. So we can draw and chop the waveforms. If you listen to this sound here, there's a lot of effects on it. If you can hear that, one of these waveforms has been mangled by draw or chop, and I can't remember which, but we will find out. Possibly that one. Definitely that one. So if we go into, I'm pretty sure that's chop, we'll go to output and we'll turn it down. Fantastic. So there is our classic sawtooth. But if I apply the chop, so this output, if I exit here, when you press shift and hold chop, you get this out n message. It's letting you choose how much of the chop effect you're going to apply. So we can do this. And as we add it, you can hear there's a kind of almost aliasing, very digital, I don't know, not quite PPG wave, but that kind of era of digital synth. That it's got that odd clang to it. Now, if we exit here and go over to the saw, we can apply chop to all of the waveforms, by the way. We'll go into saw though, and you can basically remove chunks of the waveform. We've got 16 steps along the bottom. So without removing any, sounds like that, like a sawtooth. But if we remove bits, we can gradually sort of, in a sort of additive, almost sounding kind of way, change bits of the waveform. So we get actually quite unpleasant. But very useful. And we'll just turn up the square here. I mean, could that almost be a slap bass? I don't know. What do you think? That no longer sounds like an SH-101. And it doesn't stop there. We've also got an additional control in chop, which is comb. So we'll just go to the end, go to enter. And it's quite subtle, but you can hear that. None of these can be modulated by envelopes or LFOs, but they can be automated in the sequencer. Let's exit that. So there is a simpler way of changing the chop depth and the amount of comb going on. So we can go a little sequence here, press shift. So shift and LFO changes the chop depth, and shift and sub controls the comb. And if I hit record and it's recorded the motion sequence there. Stop that. So yeah, there are up to 8 parameters can be motion sequenced per step. I do frequently run into the dreaded full notification, which comes up here when you've filled up all your slots. And that seems to happen a lot more quickly than I would normally expect. But hey, I wish it did the same thing as the Volca Keys does, where it just keeps adding it and it just overwrites the oldest one. I think that's what the Volca Keys does anyway. But yeah, when you get the full message, it often makes me go, oh, shut up. You're not full. I haven't finished with you yet. Anyway, that's me picking on a tiny little synth. Yeah, I mean, you saw it here first. I'm a bully. But yeah, as you can see, we've got a lot of extra sonic capability coming out of this synthesizer. It's polyphonic, 4 notes polyphonic, but we can change the polyphony. We can go to unison, and classic mono, and chord mode. Let's stay away from there, but I will stay on poly for the moment. There is another way of changing the sounds here, and that's the draw mode. So we shift and draw, and this is only available on the square waveform, and we hit enter and we can turn it on, and we got a choice of step or slope, and I'll just go back here and turn it off. So that's our square wave. I'll go to slope. it has changed our square wave into a triangle wave. Exit. There is an easier way of doing this. Let's exit again. We both shift, and the sawtooth waveform knob gets us straight there. So there's our square, there's a slope, and also there is the step, which is a sort of, sounds like an aliased sort of triangle. I mean, you will have seen other demonstrations of this with oscilloscopes, and believe me, I was looking for an oscilloscope the other day. I just don't know enough about them. Anyone out there know stuff about oscilloscopes? I mean, that might be useful. But we're not going to do the visual thing here. We're going to listen to what it sounds like, and I would say that again sounds digital, almost like a sort of bit reduction type thing. Go back into draw, go forward, and into this form parameter. Press enter. Now we have the triangle waveform represented across these 16 buttons along the bottom. I'll just hit play. So if we press and hold a step, we can then adjust it. And as you can hear, you can really change the basic waveform quite dramatically. Gone quite far with that one. We're in step mode. If we go to slope mode, it sort of smooths things off a little bit. Just removing some of those higher frequency content bits there. So that's, all very well and good. So as you can hear, I mean, again, it no longer sounds like an SH-101. We also have a multiply button here. It gives us a sort of sync sound type thing. Again, unfortunately, it can't be modulated by the envelope or by the LFO, but it can be automated in sequencing. So let's exit here. So again, there's a shortcut for the multiply if we hit a sequence. Shift and square wave knob. Allows us to access that quickly and simply. Let's just put a quick sequence in here. Continue to record, so shift. There we've got the movement recorded. Let's have some filter in there as well. Let's try and fill it up. We can also... let's go again, bit of noise. Tempo's here. Let's add a bit of reverb. Yeah, that's called going way too far. But yeah, the sequence is great. So with motion sequencing and everything, you can get these kinds of interesting, almost drum pattern-y type things. Here we go. That reminds me of the man in the white suit, if you know what I'm talking about. Alec Guinness film. There's a very classic piece of radiophonic workshop style electroacoustic sound in the man with the white suit. That sounds a bit like it to me. So that's real-time recording, but we can also do step recording, press record, and you can scroll through the steps. There's all our bits. But if you press step as well, you can preview each individual step. So suppose I want to change that. So let's add a lot of noise. Oh, there we go. The dreaded full warning. Let me just shift and clear motion. Enter. Done. Okay, we can start again. So there's no motion on here now. Let's hit play. So we're still in step mode. So there's our steps. Right, I want that to have very bright filter. Let's hit play again. So this way we could conceivably kind of build up a drum pattern. So let's go step 1. Let's make it into a kick. Full already. Oh dear. It's full already. Okay, am I doing something wrong? I want to just keep going and it won't let me continue adding. Oh well, perhaps I've done this all wrong. Anyway, the idea is that per step you can change filter settings and envelope settings per step. You're supposed to be able to have up to 8 things moving at once during each step, but as you saw, I just got into full. 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 Or maybe I'm the fool. I don't know. So this is an interesting thing about this little synth. It's sonically rather impressive. I have a sort of issue with emulations of general kind. So, I mean, we've had several tape emulation pedals and I love them. The ease of use and the convenience is brilliant. But there's something always in the back of my head where it's like, well, why are you pretending you've got an old reel-to-reel echo unit? I wonder if that's what's happening here. It sounds great. My eyes closed, it sounds great. But when I look at it, it's too small. I mean, I could literally lose it down the... Don't make me say the crack of my ass. I could literally lose it down the back of the sofa. I mean, it would fit into a toaster. It's so ridiculously small. But having said that, if you've looked at the prices of used SH101s lately, I guess you could get, the Behringer MS101. I've never tried one. But this is, I've seen one for sale for about 150 quid. I'm sure you can get them secondhand, even cheaper. It's pretty good, right? Yeah. Another look at the sequencer. There are other things you can do here. So the sequencer has up to 64 steps, but you can have any combination from 1 to 64. So you can get nice odd lengths and interesting sort of loping over themselves things happening. We've also got ratcheting and various other features. So if we press step and we press and hold a note, the demotion button lights up and we can hit it and patch through. So let's just go through. So the first one is velocity, so we can bring up the velocity of this. Yeah, very subtle. The next press demotion again is gate length, so we can change the gate length for each note. The next one is probability, so if I hold it here, press it through again, that's annoying. So each time you can't just go to the next note and still do the probability. So I'm going to turn the probability down for some of these, so that you can hear the probabilities going. Sometimes it's hitting it, sometimes it's not. Still in step mode, so I'll press this one here. So velocity, gate, probability and ratcheting, so we can add ratchet. A little bit of diddling, there we go, and we go up to 64 steps. Pretty quick. Quite lovely, and also there are some patterns in here. Just adds a bit of trippiness to it. And also, a recent update, so there's a key transpose button here. It used to be that you could only transpose it in semitones up and down with a knob, which is pretty useless. But now, if you press shift, you can move it around, which makes it more musically useful. Certainly something I like to do a lot. I really ought to use this synth a lot more, shouldn't I? It's so small. It's the sort of mini jack MIDI as well, and as you can see, we've had to use an adapter to connect it to this plug, which is annoying. So it's other little bits that go on here. I don't know if a MIDI proper 5-pin would fit on the back of here, but it's got a built-in battery, which is also a worry. What happens when that goes? Because they inevitably do. So it's great. I don't use it nearly enough. We've got the range knob here as well. Bring in some effects. It really is astonishing. I actually wish I was 15 again. And with all the extra draw and chop waveforms and the fact that you can add those extra flavors, those slightly more digital additive style, maybe even sort of wavetable-y sort of PPG wave type sounds, it's quite astonishing, isn't it? Whoa. But yeah, that's the Roland S-1, long overdue. It's a really nice synth. I really need to use it more.
Just said at the end there, nice overview. It seems really good value for the money.
Oh, that's very kind of you. Thank you very much.
It is good value though, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes, it is. I mean, I don't know what it would have cost when I was 15, but it's certainly, I don't know. I mean, it seems like kids today.
Ian J. Cole loves his Roland S-1 and uses it for bass sounds synced to the TR-8S. AD Vision said, this is in my setup. I use it for bass and leads with the Volca FM.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's so good for a live rig because it's so small. Like
little
if you want
boxes.
a compact little setup.
Yes.
Man with Beard was also saying it sounds quite analog for digital, and Wagyu pointed out, it's that ACB modelling. It sounds so nice.
Yeah, which is the same as the Roland Boutique SH1 1A, yeah.
Yeah, Andrew Brooks said he's A-B'd that with an original 101, and there's very little difference.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
I mean, I think the reason I got it is Lupop did a direct comparison with the SH101 as well, and he was just going, it sounds the same. And it does. And I know I went on about falling in love with the SH101. I mean, I never really fully loved the SH101. I do love synthesizers, you may have noticed. But
not that one?
But not particularly. I don't know why. I never... I think it's because I had an SH1.
Yeah, you had the SH1.
And I kind of... That's the way an SH synth should sound to me. That kind of... It's a different sound. But the SH101 is great. A lot of people... I mean, everyone loves it. I mean, I love it too. It's great. But it's really comparable, and it's a box that, as I said, you could fit in the toaster.
Yes.
Notice me avoiding the...
Yes, the interesting other place you could fit it. Nobody asked you to. But
nobody asked.
You
for
said,
this.
"Don't ask me to." No one was asking. That's all right. It was great. I loved it.
It's
Beautiful
smaller
sounds.
than Volca, so
yeah,
it almost doesn't need lubing.
It's amazing. It's a shame about that built-in battery, though. I wonder if there's how repairable Roland things
I'm sure
are.
someone will crack it open one day. I mean, if it dies, you can just power it from USB, I suppose.
God, it's hot. It's summer. Our fan died. We tried to repair it. It's a simple capacitor's gone in it. You opened it up. It's got triangle screw heads.
Oh, evil.
It's got a triangle screwdriver. Oh, just terrible.
Yeah. It's just evil, isn't it?
Anyway, we got more recommendations for great books about electronic music.
Okay.
No, don't cut.
Okay.
Andrew Brooks said the Daphne Oram book is really interesting, but very weird. A few other people have read that as well, so it's great. Rosgray 801 mentioned Electronic Music by Andy Mackay of Roxy Music from 1981.
Oh.
And Wagyu said Alan Strange's Electronic Music book is brilliant. What I might do is compile a list of all these books and put it in our Discord so that everybody can...
And stick it all in the chat for that person that asked. He'll be sorry.
Can't put it all in the chat. It's too late. I'll have to spend time copying. Well, it's all in the chat. If you read through the chat, everybody's mentioned these. But I'll put them in a list for everybody. Andrew Brooks commented on your finger, said he also had a nail incident with a Japanese knife while dicing onions. Nail polish is a godsend, he said. It
Yes.
is.
And fake nails.
Lady Aptitude regretted that you didn't de-uglify all of the nails.
Hey.
Or what was the word? I can't remember.
What are you saying?
Well, she likes the green.
Okay.
You could have extended it to the full set.
Come on, we've got more news to give.
We do. Okay. Somebody mentioned Ian J. Cole is going to be playing at Imam Camden Gear Fest on the 19th of July. So that's another gig to mention.
That's a couple of weeks. Crikey.
I will talk about Ian J. Cole now because
Yes.
I believe he's going to do a premiere after this show. It was scheduled for 8:30, but we've run over. I'm so sorry, Ian. It's quite a big show. I hope you're still with us, and we'll do this afterwards so everybody can jump over to Ian J. Cole's YouTube channel because he's premiering a new song, and he's got a new album out called The 96th Day of the Year.
Yep.
Which is on Bandcamp, and I will put a link to that in the chat. But it's a collection of musical pieces over a decade in development, and the 96th day of the year is April the 6th, which is a reference to his favourite band Talk Talk and their track The 5th of April from The Colour of Spring. So Talk Talk are a huge inspiration for all of Ian's music, but he doesn't want to copy and make music like Talk Talk and Mark Hollis because there are too many people trying to do that. But this album is very inspired by and influenced by
The more the merrier, I think.
Yeah, so I'm going to link to his new album, which is on Bandcamp. It's not Bandcamp Friday until August the 4th, I don't think. But, so that's the day to get it when the artists get a larger dividend. But I'm sure any time's a good time to buy. So hopefully after this, you can jump over to Ian J. Cole's channel and he will be sharing some new stuff with you. And I'll put the link in the chat.
Okay, great. Right.
Now.
Oh, crikey.
We want to... are we doing... What do we want to do?
Well, I guess... Have you finished with the comments?
I've finished with the comments, yes.
Okay. So are we going to have a look at that? So, okay, it's that time again. We want to thank you all for supporting us on Bandcamp, you boosters. Thanks ever so much. And, well, we've got news.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, this is our Bandcamp and you can subscribe to us. Cut to it. And if you subscribe to us, you get all this bonus stuff, 10% off merch, exclusive behind the scenes stuff, 15 unreleased EPs counting so far, fan remixes, stems, all sorts of stuff we like to share with you so that you kind of get to be part of our music making process, exclusive merch, and it's a really brilliant way to sustainably support what we do.
Yes, and one of the things that's up there right now, don't forget, is we have all the stems for Compulsory Games. Our last album are now all up there, and we are inviting you to make remixes. We've had 1 or 2 already. We'd really like to see some more because we want to release it. We want to release your remixes. So if you're a booster, get stuck into those stems. In fact, we just paid for some more storage, so I think we can stick all the other stems back up as well. If there's something else you want to remix or have a play with,
we've posted lots of stems to our tracks over the years. And you get behind the scenes stuff, what it's like on tour, things like that. And we're very grateful to all our boosters. We were having a chat with a friend on the weekend who said, why don't you have a Patreon as well? We were like, well, we've got a Bandcamp, And then we thought, well, it'd be nice to be accessible to people who prefer to use Patreon.
Yes, he says some people live on Bandcamp and some people live on Patreon. So, we've started a Patreon for those of you who are Patreon people.
But for all you boosters who are on Bandcamp, you don't need to be on both. It's going to be exactly the same. So I'm
do both.
Just in the process of uploading everything from the beginning, which is going to be quite long. But you can see there's the first 3 EPs that we posted. And, a secret video of us, when we were really early days and in our living room recording music.
Maybe take that down.
No, it's for boosters.
I'm joking.
Cocktail recipes. There'll be loads of stuff going up there. It's going to be the same as the Bandcamp, but if you are someone who prefers to use Patreon, you can now access it on Patreon and you don't have to use Bandcamp.
Yeah, fantastic. So, is it time?
For... Yes.
Scroll of Honour.
The Scroll of Honour.
So we're just going to say thank you very much to all of you. If you are supporters on Bandcamp or Patreon, as it turns out now.
Yes. It's a lot to keep track of.
If you stay with us for 6 months, you win the much coveted, fantastic, unique amazing enamel BOOcast badge. And
Which Peter Coit just mentioned he's been wearing that out proudly at lots of gigs.
Representing, thank you.
I hope he's getting salutes from other boosters.
Yes. And remember, if you do meet another BOOcast badge wearer, you have to do the special handshake. When you will only find out what that is if you join us on Patreon or Bandcamp as a subscriber. So,
that's an enticement.
But now we just want to say thank you very much to all of you who have stayed with us for 6 months or more, and you've won the BOOcast badge. And here is the Scroll of Honour. Oh, that's the wrong one. Here we go. There it is.
Let's see.
Yeah, we're going to read. What are we doing? I'll put us there.
Because we always nearly get out of breath reading these out. I thought it might be quite entertaining to put us in the corner.
Okay, put us in the corner, yeah, sure.
So this is the Booster Badge Holders Scroll of Honour.
I'm ready. Here we go.
We are honouring you. Andy Kupichevsky.
Andrew Kupichevsky, thank you so much. Hope you're well out there in LA.
Stefan Last, Steve Turnbull, and Ian J. Cole.
Hello. James Newcomb, Craig Williams, Paul Marshline, Adam Embry,
Warren Harrison, Sean Parsons, Jeff Terranova, Jeff Potter,
Andrew Vanny and Heath, Paul Harkness,
Jörg Schäffner,
Tom Grimshaw,
Pascal Aubry,
Technomatic,
David
Hill, Andrew Wolford,
Nick Hay,
Gary Goldfinch,
Ed Francie,
Andrew Mayo,
Rob Sloan,
Wagyu, thank you so much for being there and helping us with the chat.
Ian Pass,
Simon Goodwin,
Neil Wharton,
Andrew Loveland,
Jerome Gorman,
Michael Carker,
No Labels Pools,
Andy Vonal,
Andy McCree,
Adrian Wright,
Renaud Jan Groenen,
Rich Cool, Evan D.B. Gray,
Sean Parsons,
Julian Edge,
Zach Lewis, Christopher Miller,
Izzy Monkey, Phil Dunbar, Tommy Plex,
Sonia Pex,
Tommy
Stephen Webb,
Stephen Webb, Christopher Mitchell,
Peter Della, Jeffrey Collins, Gary and Paula, Peter Coit, and Dots.
And Dots, did you slow it down a bit this month?
I did slow it down.
Easier.
Could you tell?
Yeah, it's easier to read.
It didn't sound like it was easier, though, did it?
No, it's not easier. It's not for us.
Thank you so much, guys. It's amazing what you do. Your contributions combined help us keep doing this.
It is. We can't say thank you enough. It really does keep us going. And I think that might be. Oh, you're going to talk about your mixtape?
Yeah, I was talking about. We started a Substack, and I wanted to share this month. I was going to write a post about the PR process, but the prospect of it was quite depressing. So instead, I'm sharing a personal mixtape. Now, every year I make a mixtape. Well, it's a CD, but I've been making them since I was making them on tapes when I was, a tween, I suppose. And I usually make one about once a year. This is about that. And it's my current playlist of recent musical discoveries. There's a load of stuff in there. A lot of it's quite noisy in this one. But yeah, there's links to buy things as well. And it's on Mixcloud and stories behind the tracks.
So could you just go and listen to that then?
So you can go listen to it.
And is that for the boosters?
That's just public for everybody at the moment. Okay. But if you guys like it, then I will start sharing some of the older mixes as well.
Oh yeah, awesome! Right, fantastic. Yeah. I keep saying fantastic; it's really annoying. Yeah, it's great.
Fantastic.
I think that's a show, isn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
We better skedaddle because we don't want to hold up Ian any longer.
Ian's live. He's still there. He's still
there.
Okay, fantastic.
You haven't missed it.
I said fantastic again. It's so annoying. Right, Can I have that word erased from my? You know what we forgot?
What?
You forgot that.
I did. Oh.
You spent all day working on that.
I did.
You forgot it.
I'm going to do it now.
No, don't do it now.
No, I'm going to do it now.
We'll put it on at the end, okay?
Look.
There, do it.
There,
look at that. There you go. That's how to join.
Third.
That's a lower third. You have no idea how much that hurts. Alpha channel
really
hell.
Really difficult to set up.
Look, it's transparent. Look, you can see my hand through it.
Just
slightly. Just a little bit.
So yeah, extra motivation to join the boosters.
We can leave that on.
Yeah, we can
just leave it on. All right, guys, thank you so much for being with us tonight. It's our third birthday.
Yeah.
So we didn't make a cake this year.
We didn't, because I nearly lost my mind last year, and it's probably better for my sanity to not make cakes in the shape of synthesizers.
Less of the nearly. And then we couldn't eat it because it was so bright blue icing. As it turns out, it's fairly toxic. So we didn't bother. You made a base station 2, didn't you?
Non-toxic, but non-delicious.
Non-delicious base station 2. A bit probably better eating the base station 2, actually. More delicious. Especially the amount of finger fudge is all over it.
Eee.
After all these years.
Extra protein in
And
there.
on that disgusting bombshell, we say thank you so much. We salute you.
We salute you, boosters, and everybody who's here.
And here's a little tune from the vault.
This was a live rehearsal,
Okay.
which we did before we went to play in Germany live for the first time.
Yeah.
And it was just recorded, straight. We didn't really we didn't have the
We
technology.
were so lucky. We got to play at the beautiful Hassenschaukel in off the Reeper Barn in Hamburg, and it's closed now. It's gone, and it was a beautiful place.
Yeah.
But this was our practice, and we're going to leave you with this.
And this song, this is when the first part of the song was not finished yet. So it's very much we just kind of put a structure down, like rough bits, and then played with it and saw what came out.
Accidentally doing a Peter Gabriel cover and then sort of disappearing off into space. So
enjoy.
We'll see you next month, hopefully.
Yes. And we look forward to seeing those of you who can make it in Canterbury.
Come and see us in Canterbury, and if not,
summer fun.
Have a great time at Coastal Electronauts this Thursday.
And all those other gigs around the UK.
Brilliant. Thanks. Cheerio.
Bye.
Bye.
What have you come for? Are you expecting anything? Hold two mirrors facing each other and place your hand between. What have you come for? Are you expecting anything? Hold two mirrors facing each other and place your hand between. We must